The whole issue of nuclear weapons here, interesting that you believe that if Iran was allowed to arm itself with nuclear weapons, it would make the world a safer place. Just explain why you believe that.
Well, first of all, I think from an American point of view, and certainly from an Israeli point of view, it would be all for the good if Iran did not get nuclear weapons. I think from Iran's point of view, it makes sense to have a nuclear deterrent because nuclear weapons are the ultimate deterrent. So I want to discriminate or distinguish between what I think is the American and Israeli perspective on one hand and what the Iranian perspective is on the other hand.
Well, what is your perspective?
Now, with regard
personally?
to the question of my perspective as an American is I hope that Iran does not get nuclear weapons. And in fact, I think that Israel made a major mistake precipitating this recent conflict because it increases the likelihood that Iran will get nuclear weapons, which is not in Israel's interest. So I want to be very clear. I'm not in favor of Iran getting nuclear weapons.
So why would you think, just on that point, just to jump in, why would you then think the world's a safer place if you personally do not think they should be given nuclear weapons? Wouldn't it actually have the opposite effect, that if you have a regime like the one in Iran right now, the world is likely to be a far more dangerous place if they have the capacity for a nuclear attack?
No, because nuclear weapons are weapons of mass destruction. And that would make the Israelis and the Americans incredibly wary of attacking Iran, a nuclear-armed Iran, for fear that Iran would use its nuclear weapons either against us or against the Israelis. There's no question, if you go back and look at the Cold War, the fact that the United States and the Soviet Union both had nuclear weapons made the likelihood of conflict between the superpowers much less likely, because again, these are weapons of mass destruction. So if Iran had nuclear weapons, Israel had nuclear weapons, and the United States had nuclear weapons, all three countries would be remarkably cautious in terms of approaching each other with military forces. If you have a Middle East where nobody has nuclear weapons, you can think about fighting a conventional war. And conventional war is much less deadly for obvious reasons than nuclear war. So the argument here is that nuclear weapons are basically a force for peace. This is not to say you could never have a nuclear war if Iran had nuclear weapons. And that, of course, is why you don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. But it is much less likely that you would have a war between Iran and Israel or Iran and the United States if Iran had nuclear weapons.
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند